Do you feel it too? Do you feel a massive change and event on the near horizon? Maybe you do, and maybe you don't, but I most certainly do. Our news keeps telling us we are approaching change. The television shows and movies are telling us that we are approaching massive change. Our music is suggesting it to us.
You're still asleep? Wake up!
Any form of media that we have today is conveying the same message, that change is upon us. But are we listening? Many believers around the world are receiving dreams and vision of destruction and chaos and the likes that the world has never seen before. Warnings that we need to be focusing on our Savior and living truly in His righteousness through His Word, so that we are not overtaken and we do not miss Him. But are we listening? Birds dropping dead out the sky, sea creatures dying in the masses, signs with the sun and moon, earthquakes, wildfires, hurricanes, floods, tornadoes, natural disasters everywhere. But are we listening? This world is simmering, and the temperature keeps steadily climbing. The rich and powerful are lining their chess pieces up and are ready to turn things up. There is political dissension everywhere, provocations of war everywhere, economic stress everywhere, debt piling up like never before, mass shootings and acts of terrorism everywhere. But are we listening? For the majority, the answer is a very sad no. They are not listening. But for you watching this video, are you? Are you listening? It is very easy to ignore all of these things that are happening and only focus on what is prevalent in your world, only focusing on what matters and what pertains to you. I get it. It's like you feel maybe if you just go to work every day and focus on being a better person and not focus on the negativity, then in the end, things will be okay. Yeah, I get it. It's easier to think this way rather than living with this mindset that a massively negative event is approaching that will affect you and your loved ones. I recently had a cousin tell me if he doesn't focus on it, then it doesn't exist. This is a form of alchemy. But while he thinks it boldly, there are many that think this secretly. They don't verbalize it or speak it as their reality, though they live through this frame of mind, this mindset. It's the ultimate view of living in the matrix, that ignorance is bliss. But the truth is that that view is just a mindset of a future victim. If you knew the building you were in was on fire, but it hasn't reached your floor yet, you wouldn't stay there, relax, and say, no worries. Someone's going to put out that fire. Don't worry. No, you're going to do whatever you can to escape. If you ignore that fire, depending on how big it is, there may not be anything anyone can do, and it will reach you. And your ignorance of it will cost you everything. And this is real life reality. In this metaphor, the world is the building that is on fire. And the flames, which are the events that are happening all around the world, just keep getting bigger and bigger. But because it hasn't reached the masses yet, they feel that they don't need to pay attention to it. This is because they are just products of their environment and mass conditioning. Because if the mass media outlets were telling us that World War III and economic collapse were on the horizon, then who wouldn't be preparing for it? When they tell everyone that a hurricane or major storm is on the horizon and people need to leave, that's exactly what people do. They leave, they prepare, they stock up. But because their trusted news sources are not sounding the alarms, they believe that they have nothing to fear or prepare for. The truth is that the news media are giving the warnings, but it's not direct. There needs to be critical thinking and an analysis of the overall situation so that you can make certain inferences. So what I want to do is to assist you with this critical thought so that you can clearly see the world that you live in and what the future really looks like for 2020. Put away the entertainment and the sports, the games on your phone, the pointless music, and just review the world around you. If after you review all of this info, you still do not believe that the change is upon us, then continue on with your day-to-day. But if you recognize that something is not right, then let me show you your only answer. Deal? Let's go over the potential risk of 2020. Let's begin. So, we're going to break this world up in a few parts. Now, if you took each incident in each part and isolated it, then I can understand why you would feel that there's nothing else to see here, that there's nothing really to focus on. But if you put it all together and then understand the why, it all makes perfect sense. Now, if you are not new to my channel, you should already understand the why. But if you are new, I will feed you the why in some doses, because the truth can often be overwhelming. The first part I want you to understand is that the very rich and powerful are not who you may expect. You may look at the Bill Gates, Warren Buffetts, Mark Zuckerbergs, and Jeff Bezos as a rich and powerful elite. And while they certainly are up there, the true ones in control of our world are not in the light, but covered in the shadows. They are the unseen hand, and their desire is for a new world order. I will go over the ultimate goal of the new world order later, but the major why that you need to understand is the method in which they operate. They work in a mindset of order out of chaos. Maybe you've heard that before, but simply explained, they bring order in after they produce chaos. The right crisis can lead to the change they desire. And when we are looking at this world being on fire and understand that they want a new world order, you can understand why these events are being provoked. So to explain this properly, I'm going to break things down into 3 parts. We are going to discuss the major risk of armed conflict. Then we will discuss the economic risk. Then the possible disruptive events. Major risk of armed conflict. Now, I can easily tell you, you should focus on this and you should focus on that. But it's easy for you just to wave it off and say, these are his own interpretations of what is happening. I don't need to listen to that. So I will use a strong source from this world system. The Council of Foreign Relations, the CFR, recently released their report on the Preventive Priority Survey for 2020.